Alright, hey everybody. I'm gonna jump in here. I have maybe 30 to 40 minutes to try and paint. Last video I was talking about using the white as a stronger ambient light, and I do want to do that. But I'm gonna start taking some bigger risks here, because when I'm taking this slow approach and trying to be painterly, and it's just not coming out right. So I'm gonna just maybe make some big moves and try to figure out what's going on with this. So like when I'm zoomed in here, like some of the things look kind of cool, like the details in Joseph's hair, that looks fine. But when I zoom out all the way, I want to get the big picture of this piece, and it looks okay. Like we have these sort of strong established colors, but there's not a whole lot of shading, there's not a whole lot of contrast. It just kind of looks like to me this looks like an amateurish drawing. Like if I were to put this on my altar, I don't know, it wouldn't look right. I want to get this to a higher level. There's still something for me personally that I can still be let it evolve. So I don't really know what it is yet, so I'm just gonna kind of go in there and start painting more. I'm gonna be playing with colors and hues. Here I'm gonna and I'm not gonna be thinking all that much, maybe thinking out loud just a little bit. I have a topic of discussion? Sometimes I do, but I mean, I've been reading the book. Yeah, I think I do. I've been reading the book. I'm going to try to slow down my speech a little bit. Oh, and by the way, as I want to remind you all, if you do have sketchbooks or notebooks or iPads, feel free to pull them out, draw with me, make some artwork with me, especially if you are here and you are Catholic. Like, I am part of a very specific demographic, is what I want to be. I'm an artist, and I'm a Catholic artist. And I want the focus of my work in the future. It's not, I will still take, non-religious work as freelance work. That's perfectly fine. And to the limit where, I won't do anything that's not safe for work. I won't do anything that's like adult content, anything like that. But I'll still take, work that's secular. I use the word secular. It's such a derogatory term, I think. Anything that's non-religious, I'll still take that kind of work. Secular it's a descriptive word, but when used by Christians, I don't know, it just feels so... Sometimes it's used in a way that's like secular bad, but that's not really true. Non-religious. Okay, so I'm going in here with like painting some white, but I don't really know what the right hue is gonna be, or the right brightness is gonna be. I'm using the eyedropper here, and yeah, I think this white is too much. It looks like it's... Yeah, we're gonna tone it down a little bit. I know I'm making strokes. I don't know if the strokes are accomplishing anything. I know that I need to have some kind of direction when I'm painting this, but I don't know the direction to go. Like I feel like I've barely made any change in the past couple of minutes. I don't know where to go. Here's what we'll do. We'll experiment a little bit with these options. We'll play with the curves. Do we want a higher contrast? Not necessarily. This is the gamma. I don't really know what gamma means. Oh, that's interesting. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. The high contrast is too much. I want a good level of, like a balanced level of contrast, but I do want some contrast there. But not too much. Red curves. I feel like I kind of did this already with the color balance. I'm just gonna keep moving, kind of wiggling it around until something looks okay. But I think the green shouldn't have to change very much. Blue, I don't think we need blue. Maybe that looks kind of, but it just looks kind of like a photo filter. It looks kind of faded. I might leave that alone. Let's try applying this and then let's undo. Whoa, that really did a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of okay too. That's kind of okay. But I might, you know, we're just gonna keep playing with it. Hue, saturation, brightness. We're really taking advantage of our digital art tools. Saturation, we'll desaturate a little bit because the saturation became kind of a lot. But play with the hue again. No, I think my hue is fine. My colors are fine. That was a bit, I don't know, the saturation is so strong. We'll desaturate a little bit. Tiny bit. Okay, so if I'm to go back, yeah, that desaturate is good. And then, yeah, I think it's like just so, yeah, you know what? I think that did something. Now, here's what we'll do. Let's get in here and paint some sandals. I don't want to, I mean, I'm thinking so much, you know? I just got to get in there and paint. Like, I talk about Bob Ross and how he's my inspiration. But, I mean, he put in the hours of grinding. So, again, this piece here, I've spent maybe 6 hours on. And 6 hours is not a whole lot. And I don't really have a whole lot of time to paint and draw. But I know, I'm sure that if I had the time to put in the reps, it would look great. So, I should just trust that, shouldn't I? But here's the thing, I don't have necessarily targeted practice. Well, I guess the targeted practice is this. The targeted practice is here doing this piece. And trying to make it look good. And trying to accomplish these specific goals that I had for it. But not really knowing how to approach it. It is evolving over time. Like, I've made new brushes doing this. I'm really mulling over what is the technique that's distinctly mine, and how can that evolve. And there's certain types of art that that have been appealing to my eye, that I've been like, I looked at a little bit of for inspiration. I looked at the art from AFK Journey, and I looked at the art from the Korean illustrator Reno Tuna. I don't like all of his content all the time, because I'm a little bit more sensitive to content, specific types of content, but he's a good illustrator, very effective. And I tried to look at some things in his illustration that are good, that he, like, what are some things, design elements that he does. Now I noticed, like, posing is big, and here I have very, very simple poses. Now what can I do with simple poses such as this? I feel like I don't want to go back and revamp the whole piece. I'm okay with keeping it like this, but I think since the line art is very anime, like it's so anime, and it fits. This is my style. This is how I draw. I feel like I have to make the shading flat colors in order for me to turn this into an effective piece. That's what I feel like needs to be done, and I might end up doing that. So I might reduce the blending and the painterliness, and save any shading for the very end. So I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. We're gonna flatten it. It's just how my art looks best usually. But when we get the flat colors in, then I'll try to see where I can incorporate some soft edges and blending. Okay, so here we have all the paint in one layer. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a couple colors and use a harder pressure and try to figure out where each color is. I do think this color is fine for the shadows, and I hatched in some shadows also. This is like in AFK Journey and like Breath of the Wild, like some of these games, I think ever since Zelda, the Wind Waker even, when they were trying to push cell shading, Cell shading as in, like, they call it cell shading because it's like anime shading, where you use the transparent cells to create your colors. Yeah, so this white here. Another thing I used to do was the lasso tool, right? Color fill. And I remember how it worked in Krita was that I would just put in the circle and then it would like fill in the whole thing like this, right? But in Procreate, it's like there's so much going on visually that I don't like it. Right? So I don't know, that's not going to work for me. I think I have to paint it in. But it became such a convenient tool in Krita. It exists in Ibis Paint. So one thing I could do is line art in Procreate and color in Ibis Paint, but I don't really want to do that. I want to master a new way of doing things. Not that I have to reinvent the wheel, but I want to stay in one program. That's I guess a restriction I'm kind of imposing on myself. And how many values do we want here? We can do like 3 or 4. Yeah, we can. Light, highlight, cast shadow, core shadow. That's what we could do. The 5 value scale that I was taught in school, we could do it. I say we, as if it's a team effort. It is a team effort, isn't it? You're listening here and listening to me really try to figure out my stuff. How come things are moving? There. I think my other hand was on the trackpad. Yeah, I like the effect that this has with the white highlight and then this basic orange color. And then we'll take this color and make this maybe this color will be the core shadows. Or this color, yeah, it's such a strong shadow color though. But it is a cast shadow, isn't it? So the 5 value scale that I learned in school was light, or highlight, midtone, reflected light, core shadow, cast shadow. So now there's a lot of midtones. So if we're gonna do one color for a core shadow, here's what we'll do. We'll create a palette. So we'll do light, midtone, reflected light. It really depends on I guess it depends on what's being reflected, right? So let's just put in a couple of colors for core shadow and cast shadow. Here's core shadow and here's cast shadow, strong. Now somewhere in between is going to be reflected light. Now I'm going to blend these two together. Let's see how the smudge tool does it. I don't want to smudge any white in there. Yeah, I think that'll do. So we'll worry about reflected light later. So here's what we'll do. We'll interpret this. Core shadow, we'll find them. And we're going to think about where the form of her sleeves and stuff turn away from the light. So now we are taking an academic approach. This feels like the right intuition, at least. And this is what I normally do when I'm doing 2 value scales, like just basic anime shading. This is what I normally do. I look at it from the idea of like, where is the core shadow? So now we have to think about, okay, so let's look at this one. Highlight, very bright like this, very light blue. I'm gonna find a blue. Highlight. Where's the midtone? Midtone is more like this. Midtone, Could be a little bit lighter than that. Mid-tone. Core shadow somewhere like this. And cast shadow right under there. Okay, what about her skin? And here's where I can start creating palettes. Like I could take each level and then create, like, add some kind of, change the hue, you know, like because I know for skin I prefer red hues in the shadows. So if I go, let's say this is the mid-tone. I haven't really added a highlight color yet, so let's find one. Let's just push it that way. Highlight color. Let's go white, like very white. Highlight. And then core shadow is going to be something like this. And then we can move this toward the red, like I normally do. Core shadow, it's a little bit strong. A little bit strong still. Core shadow, and then cast shadow. We'll get in really in there, that's deep dark shadow, and move it into the red again. And then we'll go like this. Just move it that way. Yeah, like that. That looks okay. And then let's do the veil. I guess this ought to be my approach, right? So for each piece that has a different color, we'll create this 5 value scale. Notice I'm only doing 4 because reflected light really just depends on what's there, what's around it. So light, mid-tone, core shadow, let's get that one, and then cast shadow I kind of made in there. And then yeah, like in here around her neck there will be like reflected light. So, and then those are the most of the colors on Mary. Now here we'll keep it academic. So her blue sash, let's say that the mid-tone, let's make it a little bit lighter than this. Let's say this is our mid-tone, and if we were to make a highlight, we'll just move it into the white here, to the light blue. Actually, it would be more in this, stay in the teal here and keep it saturated. Highlight like that. Yeah, that could be a highlight. And then core shadow, we have a color like that in here. And cast shadow, we do have something like that in here. Maybe like here in the deep dark depths of the shadow. Like we can do that. And we can always adjust it. Okay, let's do that. Let's use Mary to figure out our color method. Okay, so now here's what I'll do. I'll start over. I'm just gonna start over. I'm gonna do her face. Now we can add a blush. We can add the blush back in, but let's just reset. So we have, first thing I want to do, so that's the mid-tone I just brushed in. Now we have a core shadow. Core shadow would appear on the bottom of her nose for sure. Just the bottom, under her chin, and slightly on her face as the chin starts to curve away from this the sun. We're gonna assume that the sun is above, that the light is coming from above, but there's also a general ambient light, white, coming from all around. So here. Now, we haven't thought much about occlusion shadows yet, but I'm not going to worry about it yet. Maybe we'll do that last. Or we'll do it later. Because I want to establish a method so that if I do illustration after illustration after illustration, and they'll be consistent. Same brushes, same process. You know, something a little bit more repetitive, at least. A little bit more structured of an approach. Just so that not all my artwork looks the same per se, but so that I don't come in without a plan, or that my plan improves. Give myself a foundation to improve on. You know, we can do her hair. So I notice I put like really light highlights, but I do want her hair to be darker than that, right? So let's make this our mid-tone, mid-tone, dark hair, and then let's make this our, we'll make that kind of a highlight color. Okay, oops, that's signaling me. I gotta drive soon. Okay. So, Make this our highlight color. So for this one, I think we'll kind of have a double highlight color, but in the black, in the dark hair, there's the core shadow and cast shadow are going to be almost the same. It's just going to be very dark. Okay, so we'll go into the, yeah, here. Yeah, we'll just make it super dark. I mean, it's hair. I don't know. This is temporary. Okay, but let's continue with the skin. Let's do our method. So we have our core shadow. There's going to be a little bit under the eyes. Now it's interesting. Like, do I want to do the full the full power of the shadow here under the eyebrow? I don't think so. But we can do a cast shadow. I remember my class, where I was learning how to draw. The teacher, he would like drill us, like, is this a core shadow or a cast shadow? And the students would like sometimes get it wrong, you know. Sometimes it seems obvious what it is, but when you're looking at drapery and stuff, sometimes it's not so obvious. So here, I think for her hair, we're just gonna add some hair like here to, because it looks like the forehead is like really big. We're just gonna add some hair right there. I might even add that in with the line art. I should. Let's move this thing over here, right in the middle, so I can eye drop that more easily. Go back to Inker 2, Inker 1 for the eraser. Okay, let's go into the ink layer here. Yeah, let's reduce the size of her forehead. Might move this over. Yeah, move it over a little bit. Something like that, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. We'll bring the color back. See, the shadows around the eyes already look too strong. Yeah, so we want to use our core shadow color. We don't want to paint things in. We're going to try to use it with discretion. Yeah, because that shadow around the eyes got a little bit too strong. And in anime, I mean, you don't see it much, right? Okay, but we'll keep thinking about it. Core shadow, and then highlight. Let's find highlights. Nose typically have highlights. We could put highlights on her eyelids. We could do that. And again, how much is it changing as I zoom out here? I do think that looks better. That looks a little bit better than what I had. So let's approach this academically. And here, there's not going to be a ton of core shadows, but here, again, let's wash it over with our midtone again. Let's put in an alpha lock real quick, because I'm going to just wash over her veil with the midtone. It's like we're starting over on the color. Restarting our approach. This is a truly academic... This feels like a study. And that's good. I think that's good. I mean, I get to spend time here with the Holy Family, of course. And, you know, this piece is meant to honor them. And I hope it does honor them. But that's the reason why I'm putting all this effort into making the process right, so that it looks right. So we'll remove the alpha lock here. They have some empty spaces. Yeah, I think I should have been more meticulous with just setting in proper base colors. And I think I need to let's take note of this, you know, like let's take a note of this. I'm just going to write it down here. 1, color process. 1, base. Choose right colors. Let's just make that disappear for a second. Choose right colors. And then 2, from each base, create 5-value scale, and then interpret form. Yeah, that's how I got to do it. That's how I got to do it. Okay, so let's work on the veil here. I do have maybe, I don't know, 10 more minutes. So, from the veil colors, let's actually label these two. Veil. This would be hair. Actually, this would be hair. Let's use opus color. This one would be skin. This would be dress. This one's sash. And this one, I don't know what to call it, mantle or coat. Let's call it mantle. I don't really know what mantles are, but we talk about Mary's mantle of protection. I don't know if it's the thing on her head or if it's a robe, or I don't know. I don't really know, but that's what we'll call it. Okay, so onto the veil. Well, what will we do first? We'll do core shadows first. So there's definitely going to be a core shadow, I think, in here, as it's like the inside of her veil, but then would that be a core shadow or a cast shadow? Because it's not like the entire inside part there is going to be fully in shadow. It's more that, well, kind of, because here, yeah, we'll put it in and we'll see how it looks. Actually, we'll put it in. Whoa. Okay, I guess we'll just brush it in. Yeah, I guess that looks fine. Because my instinct is telling me that, like, this part here would have a little bit more light. But again, let's just, instead of like painting it and blending it in, let's try to find where the core shadow would really turn from the light. Because in real life, I think it would blend a little bit. But so I think in this scenario, we would want a soft edge, wouldn't we? So I think in this scenario, we can just create one. I'll use a smudge tool here. I don't know what kind of strokes to use with a smudge tool. Circles, or rub the two values together. Maybe circles. Yeah, you know, I think that's working okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so anywhere else where we would find a core shadow? Here, maybe a little bit here as the thing turns away. See here, places like this is where the midtones, there would be a little bit of overlap, because I'm not thinking too much about overlap shadows just yet, but within the midtones there would be some overlap shadow there, the ambient occlusion. So I think I'll just take my smudger and just create some soft edge right there. But would it be a soft edge? I don't know, because I feel like it might be a little bit of a harder edge. There's so many questions here as I do color. When I'm doing sketches in line art, everything feels so natural. But right now, I'm trying to push myself. So I'm gonna stop using the eyedropper on the piece itself. I want to make sure I'm using my palette that I created. Definitely a core shadow in here as it folds. I think it's okay to zoom in. Definitely a core shadow. Core shadow to actually, you know, when I first learned it, it was called core shadow, but the word form shadow means, I think it makes a lot more sense, because it's expressing the form by showing where the form turns away from the light. I'm gonna start trying to call it form shadow. This is the form shadow. We gotta train myself too in my speech. Okay, let's find some cast shadows in the veil. Where are the cast shadows? Definitely like in here. Now, will this create a soft edge too? I think so, because this is more like an occlusion shadow. Occlusion shadows and cast shadows are very similar. Occlusion is just like not receiving enough ambient light, and cast shadow is like more like where is the direct light not reaching. But these places are not getting light, so I can kind of use the same color for it, I think. But keeping in mind the reflected light, let's actually try this, where the cast shadow of the skin will like create some reflection as she kind of glows into the veil there. If I really, keep thinking this way, my coloring process is going to be very involved, and I think that's good, because I need to train the way I think about this, shouldn't I? Now, is that having a positive effect? I have to zoom out, get a fresh look. I think it's having a good effect. Now here though, the veil, the midtone, and the highlight. Okay, I haven't added a highlight yet. I think for the veil, I think it's important that I add a highlight. And I think we're just going to consider that there is a light source directly above them, apart from the ambient white light all around them. Now, this is less of a highlight as it is starting to wash over the entire thing, so I need to make sure it's just on the top where things are actually getting highlighted. Okay. Let's go around there too. Around the head. Let's find our core shadow again. Is there anything down here? Maybe a little bit down here. Form shadow, I mean. Painting it in. Probably still gonna be lit around there. It might be a thin core shadow. No, cast shadow. Okay, so here, let's wash over this side of the mantle with just the midtone again. We'll reset. We'll reset, and we'll do this piece by piece until it looks complete. I think this approach is good. I mean, it's very structured, so it could be limiting, but sometimes, as I've learned, working within certain limitations can lead you to excellence if you do really well within those limitations. So this is what I'm going to force myself to do right now. There's that midtone. And then let's find core shadows. So definitely in here. Definitely around here. And we'll just create an entire core shadow in there. Form shadow, again. Form shadow. I think there's a little bit of folding, like right in there. I kind of drew it in the form. Just very slightly. And then here, like, this would be a soft edge. So here, this is good because I'm thinking more about hard and soft edges. So here, under her chest, it kind of does move down very slightly, and I'm gonna put in the full form shadow there. But it's obviously not gonna be that strong. It's gonna be more of a softer shadow. So I'm gonna take my blender now, create a soft edge. I'm thinking about this a lot harder than I normally do, which is good. I think this is what I need. There, that's right, that's right. It's a soft edge because it's a soft curve, okay? And I'm not using shadows that are too strong, because I see here on the right side, the shadows were too strong, and I was just kind of painting willy-nilly without thinking of the palette. My goodness, folks, this is like so much better of a process for me now since I have the structure. It's good that I decided, to be brave and just kind of reset the color, because yeah, even this stuff I just did today, we're gonna reset it because I want to start from the top here and like really find the right colors. So we'll just wash out her sleeve, and I'm feeling like I need to use the restroom now, so I think I'm gonna stop this recording, but I'm very glad that I have this approach. I'm gonna keep these notes up so that I remember what I was doing when I come back to this. So folks, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna get ready for work. I'll talk to y'all later, and thank you for listening to me as I figure this out. God bless. Bye-bye.